there's Justice League, the real Justice League, parts 5 and 6. Part 5, I believe, was entitled All the King's Horses. And here it takes place where we're at the gravesite now because we're, they've in part 4, they've already made the decision that they're going to dig up Clark's body because they're going to try to bring him back to life. So now we get the graveyard scene. And in the theatrical cut, the graveyard scene was Victor and Barry, digging up his grave, and they were making Barry was just making bad racial jokes, and there was really just no point to the whole conversation. But here it was a little bit more fleshed out because Barry was still talking to Victor, and he was just he's like, you and I can actually dig up this grave in zero point 0.1 seconds, but he's out of respect, because he told him, he was Superman was my idol, he was my favorite hero. So he was out of respect, he was I'm gonna dig up his grave slowly. There was a conversation between Diana and between Aquaman. They were just talking about the differences between she was just oh, I can't believe an Atlantean and an Amazonian are working together. And he's first of all, I'm half Amazonian, and he's like I'm half Atlantean, and he's second of all, I don't like Atlanteans either, and then he quoted an old proverb that both of their cultures share. So the two of them are finding common ground because she is the princess of Themyscira and he is the uncrowned king of the sea. So it's nice to find some common ground between those two people and their tribes. They're both in exile. Well, Aquaman's is self-imposed, but they're both in exile. So so they dig his body up. And it took all four of them to take his body up, put it in, to lift him up, lift the casket, put it in the back of the van, and then they drive off to Star Labs. So now, the whole team is at Star Labs, and again, in the theatrical version, they basically just walked into the front door. There was no resistance. There was no security. They just the whole Justice League just walked in the front door, just walked to the thing, and put Superman's body in the water. Here, there was actually. They had to actually sneak into the building, and that makes perfect sense because Star Labs is a highly classified facility that, and Silas even said in the beginning, he said that Star Labs, he's we work with the DOD, we do testing for alien metals, alien biology, DNA. We have a freaking Kryptonian ship, sitting in the thing. There's supposed to be security, there's supposed to be army people, supposed to be cops, people supposed to be guarding this place. People see, the thing is with the theatrical cut, they just made it seem like Star Labs was some random building in the middle of nowhere. No, people actually work at this facility. So if you're the Justice League, you just can't walk through the front door with Superman's body. So they had a real cool scene where they had to come up with a plan to actually get access into the building. So Cyborg uses his, cyberkinetics. He ends up, causing a red alert drill. Everybody starts running for the door. Ryan Choi is just we gotta get out of here. But then Silas Stone, he's the only person. He's smart enough. He's just first of all, he's the reason why we're evacuating the building doesn't even make sense. So he starts looking into it, and he's just this is a false alarm. Somebody hacked our system. And then he gets on the walkie-talkie, and he's just listen, guys, this is a false alarm. They're trying to trick us. And then as he's saying that, a door behind him opens, and the whole Justice League is standing there, with Clark's body, and they just walk right past him. Nobody says anything, nobody acknowledges that he's standing there. And then when he realizes that Victor was the one that did it, he gets back on the walk, and he's just my bad. He was it actually is, he said it actually is an alarm, so everybody get out of the building and nobody come in till I say so. Victor and Silas give each other the soul brother head nod, and then they go into the trench. So they put Superman's body in the water. Cyborg, he's communicating with Kal-X because he's trying to try to get the machine to do the test to turn him back on. The machine, Kal-X was actually warning Cyborg against doing it. He said, warning, if you activate the mother box, Steppenwolf's gonna come. And then Cyborg was just yo, the mother, he's yo, the Kal-X doesn't want me to do this because he keeps warning me about Steppenwolf. And then Aquaman, he's just yeah, maybe we should back up. And then Batman's no. And then he was just nah, we're doing this. Then Barry said he was just I can actually wake up the mother box. So he's I can create the charge. He said, but I have to be careful because he's sometimes he actually said this. He said, when I run too fast, and I break the sound barrier, he's certain things can happen with time, or he said it's a gamble because he can affect time or whatever. But he was just but I can still give it a shot if this is what we want to do. And then then Aquaman's this is a bad idea. And then Batman's shut up, we're doing this. So then Barry runs. He's just he's just waiting. He's Victor, give me the signal. And then Victor, he's connecting. He he's still fighting with Kal-El because Kal-El is still like warning, don't do that. You probably shouldn't do it. I strongly advise against it. And then I don't know if the mother box technology. Actually, it might have been Kal-El. Like Kal-El, since he was integrated with it, Kal-El showed Cyborg what could potentially happen if he goes through what he's about to do. He showed him he showed him a few images. He showed him an image of Darkseid, basically turning the Earth into New Apocalypse. He showed Darkseid sitting on the throne. He showed a picture of Wonder Woman dead, being burnt alive, and the Amazons crying over her dead body. He showed Victor Darkseid killing Aquaman, killing Arthur, and then blasting, somebody else with his Omega beams. He showed him an image of Superman holding what we can only assume is Lois Lane's burnt up, evaporated dead corpse, with Superman on his knees crying because Lois died. And then Darkseid walks up to Superman, puts his hand on Superman's shoulder as to basically console him, and then it shows you Superman, I guess Darkseid got in his head, and Darkseid was able to sway him over to his side, and then it shows Superman in a black suit flying all over the place, blowing up the planet, destroying people and killing people. So then after Cyborg broke out of that trance, he was just like, oh shit. He was just like, hell no. And then Barry was like, did you say go? So then Barry starts running. He does the run. The box ends up dropping. Barry touches the lightning. The whole thing explodes. And, Superman comes up out of the thing. And before that happened, Lois was there because she took the Martian Manhunter's advice, where she decided that, she's like, I'm gonna start living my life again. I'm gonna try to move past, Clark's death. So she goes to the monument one more time. And when she goes to the monument, she pays her final respects, and then she walks away. As she's walking away, she sees the explosion come out, from when Superman woke up. So then she ends up heading back to the monument. So Superman pops out the thing, he's standing in front of his own monument. Everybody but Batman shows up because apparently Batman, he's either walking or he's taking his sweet ass time. And then from that point on, the fight scene, everything that happened in the fight scene, it was basically the same as we saw in the theatrical cut for the most part, with all four of them trying to fight him. Victor's alarm system kicking in, trying to shoot him. The whole thing where Barry tried to run around him, and then, Superman turned because he could see him because, he's that fast and he can go into flash time. The whole thing with Diana, trying to put the lasso on him and talk him down. But the only thing that changed was towards the end of the fight, we got the scene where Victor saved that cop from getting hit with the police car. He's like, you should probably move. But then, as everybody's trying to fight him, and the Superman's knocking everybody's ass, kicking everybody's ass, knocking everybody around, Batman finally shows up. And when Batman shows up, he's on the scene. He helps up one of the army guys. He's on the scene. He looks over at Clark. Clark looks over at him. Clark sees him and then just starts floating towards him. And as Clark is floating towards him, Batman was just like, oh shit. Batman had that look on his face, Batman's looking around like, yo, does he see me? So Superman is headed towards Batman. Everybody at this point is trying to stop him. Cyborg tries to stop him. He gets knocked back. Barry and Arthur tried to stop him. He dipped him, and the two of them crashed into each other. And then Diana tries to stop him. See, and here, up until this point, when it comes to Diana, they were making a very big deal out of her gauntlets. In the beginning of the movie, she did the gauntlet thing where she killed that dude and knocked him clear out the building who was trying to kill them kids. Then later on, when she was fighting Steppenwolf, she did the gauntlet thing again, and the blast was so strong that it knocked Steppenwolf 50 feet back and knocked him on his ass. So the movie's telling us, they're getting us prepared, letting us know that Wonder Woman is very powerful, especially when she does the gauntlet clash. So this time, when she tried to do the gauntlet clash and the Superman swooped in and blocked it, it felt more like a bigger deal now, because we've watched Diana do this two times already, and she was whooping ass with it. So the fact that Superman stopped her, I was just like, okay, so there was a stronger purpose, there was a stronger setup purpose to him doing that. So like I said, he stopped it, they do the headbutt thing, she's down for the count, and then, he runs up on Batman, and then they didn't have a weird, awkward conversation where they was just like, oh, do you bleed? they didn't do that. They didn't do the whole, does the earth need you? They didn't do any of that. Instead, he actually tried to roast him. He used his heat vision. Batman used the gauntlet. The gauntlet broke. and then right before he was going to blast him again and actually kill Batman, then Lois came out and Lois came around the corner, and then when he saw Lois, like, he calmed down. And I like that better than what we got in the theatrical version, because in the theatrical version, Batman used Alfred to go get Lois Lane and use Lois Lane as Plan B. I understood that for what it was, but I always asked the question, what if that didn't work and Clark just like Clark just like cut her head off? You know what I'm saying? Because there's no way for Batman to, like it doesn't matter if you're the world's greatest detective or not. There was no way for Batman to know officially if bringing Lois there would have worked and snapped him out of it. If anything, bringing Lois there could have made things worse. But in this, so in this case, because Lois kept going to the monument every single day, and she went there one last time, it made perfect sense why she would still be there in the neighborhood when he was there. So her showing up didn't feel like a coincidence, like, you know, because like I said, she lives down the block, and like I said, she always visits the monument. So she sees him, you know, he calms down, he grabs her, and then the two of them fly off. Now, in the theatrical cut, after that, because when Superman blew up out of the building, the mother box, you know, blew up with him, and the mother box crashed onto a car. Now, in the theatrical version, the mother box just landed on the car. Nobody picked it up. Everybody forgot about it. Steppenwolf just beams in. He takes the box, and then he leaves. Here, when the box landed on top of the car, there were actually people in this parking lot. Like, Silas Stone was there, Ryan Choi was there, like, people were there. Everybody was looking at this box, which makes perfect sense because people work at Star Labs. So Silas took the box and ran back in the building. Steppenwolf shows up, he's just like, where's the box? He doesn't see the box, so he jumps inside the building. Cyborg, you know, and the gang, like, they go back in the building. You know, Silas locks himself in a chamber. He ends up, like, shooting a laser onto the mother box with him inside. I don't know why he had to be inside to do that. He blew himself, you know, but because he superheated the box, he supercharged and heated the box exploded. It killed Silas Stone. Cyborg got there. He watched his dad die, and then Steppenwolf, you know, knocked Cyborg out. He picked up the mother box, and then he dipped. You know, after he dipped, Aquaman, he was just like, oh, we got this kid's father killed. And I'm like, first of all, he did that shit himself. And then, you know, Batman was just like, oh, Superman's back. You know, Lois, you know, calmed him down. He's like, who the hell is Lois Lane? And then she's like, the woman he loves, you know, like, it calmed him down. And he's just like, that wasn't calm. Like, he basically just kidnapped that poor woman and he dipped. You know, Cyborg, he was just like, yo, my dad, you know, he knew what he was doing. He's like, you know, my dad superheated the box. So now when it's superheated, it's the most heated, powerful, like, if you do a thermo imaging scan on any map, on any satellite, you'll see it, because he said that it generates heat bigger than a nuclear blast. So since Batman has 6 satellites, him and Cyborg together, they're going to track the mother box now. And, you know, he said that without their dad's sacrifice, they never would have been able to find the box. And his dad gave them an opportunity to find the box now and go take out Steppenwolf. So now they're on their way back to go find the heat signature, so they can go, you know, they can go kick Steppenwolf's ass. And Clark is just in the sky, and they just like, yo, whatever, whatever happens. So that was it for part 5. And like I said, I like the I don't want to use the word changes, because I like the original stuff. Like, there was nothing about that Superman returning sequence that I liked more in the original. Everything that happened here, I liked better. It made perfect sense, and I like how it was done. So that was it for part 5, and let's move right along and kick this up with part 6. Something a little darker. So here it starts with Lois and Clark. You know, they're back at the house. They're back in Smallville, and here Clark, they actually went into the house, because like in the theatrical, they only used the cuts where the two of them were standing in the grass, and they changed up the dialogue. They didn't actually show them in the house. So he's in the house, and, you know, Lois is talking to him. She's just like, yeah, like, your mom had to sell the house because she couldn't afford to make the payments. You know, Clark is just like, I don't understand. He's like, I love this house. You know, so he's slowly, like, getting his memories back, and he's trying to get his bearings about her. You know, but Lois, you know, she gives him time or whatever. So then he goes out into the field. You know, she comes out, you know, and then we get the line, because this wasn't there before, where he references the wedding ring. He was just like, oh, I guess that means you said yes, you know, because I see you have the wedding ring on your finger, which was more of a natural conversation. You know, like, you know, they hug, they embrace. The mom shows up, you know, like, he hugs them both, and then, you know, he tells them, he's just like, hey, listen, he's like, you know, like, the heroes, they brought me back for a reason, so I need to go find out what the reason is. You know, he embraces his family, and then he takes off. Justice League now, they end up, now, I guess guess now they're in the Batcave. Like I don't know where they were before. Maybe it was like some special like arsenal base that Bruce Wayne had, but now they're actually in the Batcave. Alfred's in the Batcave. They introduce everybody to Alfred. They get everybody giving Alfred a high five, and now they're on and they're trying to find out. They're trying to use the satellites to locate where Steppenwolf is and where the mother boxes are. So they locate Steppenwolf. Cyborg ends up telling everybody, he's like, listen, I can separate the boxes, but I'm gonna have to infuse myself with them. Wonder Woman was like, that's a bad idea, but he's just like, listen, like I done lost my mama, they done killed my daddy, like like he's like, yo, he said straight up, he was like, yo, I ain't got nothing left. So and then Barry was like, hey, if he wants to go in the boxes, let him go in the boxes. So they have a plan. They're just like, all right, we got the plan, let's go down there and let's kick Steppenwolf's ass. So they all get in the jet. The carrier jet or whatever. They fly down to where Steppenwolf is, and before they made this whole big thing about Bruce sacrificing himself and like, oh, I'll draw the parademons away and you guys get to the mother boxes, and then it was just like, oh, Master Wayne, the team, like they ain't do all that bullshit. like Batman was like, look, I'm about to blow the tower. I'm gonna blow the tower up, get to the mother boxes. So he blows the tower up. He does what he has to do. He blows the tower up while they're on their way to go to Steppenwolf so they can break up the mother boxes. They see that Batman's out there bringing all the parademons to him. So they all just made a collective choice to go save his ass. Like they didn't have to have a group discussion or a vote or anything. It was just the logical thing to do in the moment, So like I said, the team, there was a nice cool shot of when like Batman was in the Batmobile and then that the rest of them, they were surrounding the Batmobile. There was like a slow motion shot where they all like crashed through a wall together. I thought that was pretty dope. So they go in, Bruce is outside, he's using like a gun. Surprise, surprise. He's using a gun to take out the parademons. Everybody else is inside. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Cyborg, they're fighting Steppenwolf, and Barry's basically running around the perimeter because the plan was, because again, Victor said in order for him to get into the boxes, he needs a charge. He has to get like electrically charged into the boxes. So Barry's supposed to run around the town long enough to build up a charge so he can zap Victor into the boxes. One thing I will mention, that weird that weird unnecessary family that was in the theatrical version was not here. The town that they were at, they said that it was a desolate town with no people in it because it was full of radiation. So I never liked that whole family thing anyway. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was cool. The moment where, when Superman showed up and, Barry went to the right, Superman went to the left, Barry saved that family, and then, he saw Superman save like a whole building full of people. I actually did like that. That was a good moment, but the family wasn't necessary. Like, we didn't need to see the family throughout the entire film just so Barry could push them out of town at the end. So, like I said, like the family wasn't even there, and I didn't even realize they weren't there. And like until later, I was like, oh yeah, well I forgot about that weird family. So like I said, that whole thing was just useless. But the dynamic between Superman and Flash was the cool thing about that. But we didn't get that. So so he's running around the town, he's building up the charge. Cyborg, he's at the boxes. Wonder Woman's fighting Steppenwolf now. And Steppenwolf was kind of like goating her a little bit because he was just like, oh, it's like, I killed the Amazons and I killed your mother while you were here playing with the humans. And then, Wonder Woman got a little riled up. She's like, ain't nobody talking about my mama. And then she, she fought Steppenwolf. Like, so they were trying to hold him off. And, Cyborg had got to the point where he was just like, he's like, Barry, like, I'm synced. He's like, I'm ready for the charge. And while Barry was running around, one of the parademons blasted him in the gut, and then Barry was like knocked out for a second. He got the wind knocked out of him. He needed to catch his breath, because he has speed healing, so he just needed time for the speed healing to kick in. But Cyborg was like the mother boxes were trying to merge, and Cyborg was trying to prevent that from happening. So, like Steppenwolf, like he knocks down Wonder Woman and them. He walks up to Cyborg, he takes his axe, and right before he chops him in the shoulder and and kills Cyborg, Superman shows up out of nowhere. Superman shows up out of nowhere. He looks at Steppenwolf, and he's just like, I am not impressed. And then he just proceeded. He whooped his ass. Like, when I say he whooped his ass, like, it was just one of those things where I was just like, bro, like, you could stop hitting him now. I think he's down, but in the theatrical, he hit us with the line where he was like, I believe in truth and I'm also a fan of justice. And that was cool because that was a Superman thing to say. But for him to fly right in the middle of the axe and just be like, yeah, I'm not impressed. Like, that was some badass shit, especially because, they said like after that, he proceeded to like beat the living tar out of him. So he's whooping this dude ass. But then, because Barry couldn't recover in time, the boxes ended up merging. Victor was too late, and then like the circle opened up, and then Darkseid appeared. Like you saw Darkseid, you saw Granny Goodness, you saw all of his minions, and now they're ready to step through the portal, in order to, like take over the world and terraform the world. So now, Barry's just like, oh shoot, he was like, I kind of messed up. So now he's just like, yo, I gotta run fast, because he knows that if he breaks the sound barrier, he could potentially like, run through time. So he's just like, all right, he's like, I gotta muster up the strength, I gotta do it. And it was a really beautiful shot scene of Barry running through the Speed Force in order for him to turn back the hands of time. He was talking to his dad, and he told his dad, he was like, yo, Dad, just know your boy was he was among one of the greatest, one of the greatest of all time. And like the Speed Force was really cool. He wound himself back in time to when Victor was ready to merge. He touched him, gave him the electric shock. Victor goes into the mother boxes. And kudos to the Flash, because I'm gonna be honest, I prefer what they gave us watching Barry go through the Speed Force versus him saving that family. So, so kudos to Snyder, to Snyder for that one. So like I said, so Victor's in the boxes now. He sees his family because, Diana did say that the mother boxes would try to prevent him, from separating them, that using his biggest weakness against him. But, Cyborg, they were just like, oh, come with us, son, we can fix you. And he was like, I ain't broken. So then he started like separating the mother boxes from within. He called Superman over, Superman came over, like Superman separated the boxes, like the 3 boxes exploded. Nobody was laughing on the floor, talking about how they work with children or about how their toes hurt. Like none of that happened. They separated the boxes, and then, like the energy from the boxes died, and then, that was it, like every, the unity was dead. And then after that, and then after that, Superman had cut off Steppenwolf's like left ear. I believe it was his left ear, and then Aquaman took took the trident, stabbed Steppenwolf in the back with the trident, and then Superman came, punched him off the trident, or the pitch. It's not a trident because the trident has 3 fins, but you know what I'm talking about. So he punched him off of it, and then as he goes flying into the portal back to Darkseid, Wonder Woman came out of nowhere with the sword, and she cut him in 2. And I was just like, I will never, like, when she did that, the first thing that popped in my mind was, I need a GIF or a meme, whatever you want to call it. I just need something with Wonder Woman cutting Steppenwolf's head, severing his head from his body. And then as his head drops to the ground, somebody needs to point to Thor and say, that's how you go for the head, motherfucker. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And I swear, like, you better not ever tell me anything about anybody in Marvel or on the Avengers beating Wonder Woman's ass. Like, that's just not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. And then Darkseid, like, Jesus Christ. Like, so the body goes through the portal, the head goes through the portal, and then as soon as the head falls in front of Darkseid just stepped on his head. And I'm like, damn, like, y'all ain't giving Steppenwolf no love. And then he just stepped on it like he wasn't shit. And then then Darkseid, he's looking into the portal, he's looking at, at the Justice League, and all 6 of them are just looking back at him at the portal like, yo, do something. Like, what you got? It's like Superman was just standing in the middle like, jump. He's like, yo, the portal's open, ain't nothing between us and space, time, space, and opportunity. What you gonna do? And then the portal closed. And when the portal closed, I thought somebody was going to be like, I thought so, bitch. And then the portal closes. The Darkseid minion, he's just like, what do we do now? And then Darkseid's like, oh, we're here for anti-life. And he's like, I will not stop the search for anti-life. So he's just like, gather the armada. We will go to Earth and take it over the old-fashioned way. So basically now, then, Granny Goodness, like everybody be hating on Granny Goodness. Like with Granny Goodness comes the Furies. So had the Snyder Cut vision proceeded, we would have definitely got some Furies. We'd have got some Big Barda, and I'm kind of sad we didn't get that, but maybe there's still hope. So now Darkseid's on his way to Earth. He's on his way to Earth. Like I said, he's the old-fashioned way. He's taking the bus, and and the Justice League better prepare for some action, because like he's coming with full forces. And then we get the shot, with the six of them like standing on top of the thing, and instead of them standing on top of the mountain looking into the land regrow itself like in the theatrical, it was basically the helicarrier coming to pick all of them up and take them home. But we did get the wide shot with the six of them, just like standing across, which was always dope. I love that shot. We got the fist bump with Victor and Barry, and there was no corny conversation with Bruce throwing unnecessary jabs at Diane, talking about, oh, now she's glad you back. I was like, we ain't getting none of that. It was just heroes standing tall, saving the day, kicking ass, and taking names, and I completely love it. So that was how part 6 ended. So this was, like I said, this was dope. The Barry Allen sequence, like I said, like the flashback sequence, that was for me, like that was everything. Like it was very epic. And one thing I will say about the theatrical cut, from the moment Superman came back, like from the moment he got brought back to life up until, like all the way up until the end, they did a very good job of putting respect on Superman's name as being the most powerful being in the planet. Even when he did do the I'm a fan of truth and justice or whatever, it's like he whooped Steppenwolf's ass. He left to go save civilians, and then after he saved civilians, he came back and he was like, "This guy's still bothering you," and he proceeded to continue to whoop his ass. So they did do a good job of putting respect on Superman's name. But in the Snyder cut, you won't even question if you need to put respect on his name or not, because when Superman showed up, it was just like from Jump Street. Just like there's a reason why the mother boxes were afraid of him. Like there's a reason why the mother boxes refused to turn on as long as he was on the planet, because he whooped everyone's ass. And Darkseid was just sitting there, just like, Darkseid didn't even say nothing, but it was just like I said, Superman just looked at him like, I wish you would like step through that portal. So Snyder did a better job. Like the theatrical cut, from a hope standpoint, from like the Blue Boy Scout, like the truth and they did a good job of the truth and justice aspect of Superman. The Snyder cut did a good job of put some respect on Superman, like put the fear, like this dude will put the fear in your heart type Superman. Like this is the Superman Batman was afraid of, like in BVS, and I'm definitely here for it. So that was it. So episodes 5 and 6 in the book. We got the I'm doing one more video coming up for the epilogue, and then my final thoughts on the Snyder cut. So definitely stay tuned for that. Check me out on social media, like and or subscribe. And until the epilogue episode, I'll be back, guys, and I'm out this bitch.